or are these bears that obviously that have been stuffed with kids? Are they just AI just trying to act like kids, but we just assume that they're kids, and it's not really the supernatural of like their spirits being taking control of? Why am I shouting? What the fuck? Where's my cell phone? So I have a delivery on its way, right? I don't know if it's a good idea to start the video. Oh, speak of the devil, it's here. Whoa, I nearly leaked my address. Give me a sec, guys. That was just a little grocery shopping, but now I can focus on you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to my channel, my name is Y Mike. Welcome to my journey through the 5 Nights at Freddy's lore. Today will be mainly about Ruin, and I could probably go as far to say some of you are excited to see my reactions and my thoughts on the lore of FNAF. Me going through Ruin is very exciting for me because a lot of you guys have been saying that some of the stuff that I've already learned has been debunked in Ruin. Now, coming from the perspective of like being new in this FNAF lore, it's exciting for me. It's exciting. Yeah, I want to see what's been debunked here, what was false and what was real. You get me? I'm excited. So, hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we're gonna jump in. But before that, I just wanted to add, we are going to finish off our lore reaction in this video. This video is gonna be very long. I don't know if you guys got like 40 minutes worth of time, maybe 50 minutes, but get some snacks, relax, sit back, enjoy the journey.
The day's finally here. 5 Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin has arrived after a year and a half in the making, which means that I've only got today. One final chance to solve Security Breach once and for all before Ruin clarifies everything for us. Or, just adds even more layers of confusion on top. So, can I...
Oh, okay, I forgot to say, this is basically the video before the actual Ruin lore video that he makes. So this is the AI Uprising. I don't know what to expect. So yeah, let's jump in. As he said, this is the last time for him to debunk it before we actually find out. All right.
Can I do it? Can I give you the theory that'll finally pull together everything and unite the very fragmented fan base in time for the newest game release? Let's find out.
Okay.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory! And you heard that intro right, the Ruin DLC is finally out. In fact, it just dropped today as I upload this video, which is kind of crazy to think about, because it means that we've spent the better part of 2 years trying to solve one game and one game only, Security Breach. But all that time hasn't just been us spinning our wheels over.
Damn! What? 2 years? Fuck.
And over again in Roxy Raceway, we've had ourselves some help, kinda. Since the release of Security Breach, it's felt like the new Tales of the Pizzaplex books have been trying to offer us clues as to what the story of Security Breach was trying to be. But those clues have been, challenging for the community to interpret, to say the least. Mimics and Tiger Rocks and Dr. Rabbits, the storyteller Edwin, GGY, the list has been huge.
Yeah,
even if you follow every detail of every book, it's still pretty darn confusing. But finally.
I was just about to say that, like, cause he's been actually trying to put together all these lore and theories throughout these books that he's read, I have been confused as fuck, because I thought Henry was still alive. Now I'm finding out he's dead. Edwin is basically Henry in the books. Like, there's just so much going on. So much going on, you know?
Finally, with the release of this latest book, Tiger Rock, everything has come into focus for me. I think I finally get it. I think I finally understand the story that modern FNAF as a whole has been trying to tell us this entire time. But it's kind of a good thing, because it'll put us all on the same page as we try to theorize moving forward. This theory, I suspect, is the final key to the puzzle. The thing that's gonna help us all understand what the heck we're seeing throughout the new DLC and from this point forward in the franchise. And I suspect it all comes down to one topic: AI. No, obviously AI has been the buzzword of 2023, talking about how powerful it is, fears about it taking our jobs, concerns about the ethics of it. If you read an article online, there's a chance that it's been written by ChatGPT. See some cool artwork that just won a competition? Turns out Dolly made it. Watch a cool YouTube video?
Geez, MatPat, you're using a lot of power. You wouldn't last 1 minute playing 2020 mode, which I totally beat on my first try, by the way.
There's a chance that those voices were produced by AI. But before we talk about it, what exactly...
First of all, AI is crazy right now. AI music, AI generating images of people naked. Fam, it goes on and goes forth. AI art. Like, as you guys can probably see AI arts. Wait, here. Right there. Right there. You can see the AI art. I made that. That's me in AI.
Is AI. Basically, artificial intelligence is a machine's ability to think like a human. You feed the machine a bunch of data, and the computer brain is able to learn from it. It ingests all that information and then makes decisions based on that data moving forward. It actually closely parallels the way that we learn. We also ingest data from our environment and then use that data to make our decisions. And just like with a human, the more data that you're feeding into these things, the more sophisticated and well-rounded the responses become, and the more lifelike it seems.
Interesting.
Well, within reason. You see, there's a problem with all of this. You have to be careful about the data that you're feeding it. If you aren't properly filtering the information that's being ingested, making sure that it's factual and unbiased, then bad things are gonna start to happen. If I put in a bunch of misinformation, the responses I get back are just gonna be wrong. And that makes sense, right? The computer doesn't know any better. It only knows what we tell it. But things can actually get a lot worse than that. What if I put in a bunch of hateful opinions or biases? Well, that's exactly what you're gonna get back. You're gonna get a dark reflection of that data. And we saw that exact situation play out live.
Hold on. What does that even say?
You're gonna get a dark
An evil, unwashed YouTuber with awful opinions and supporters of killer robots.
reflection of that data. And we saw that exact situation play out live in real time over on Twitch last year. Back in December of 2022, one of the big trends was an AI-generated show called Nothing Forever. This show was designed to parody the old comedy series Seinfeld, with its dialogue and assets all being generated by AI in real time. ChatGPT for the scripts, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, a few others. I gotta say, it was impressive. Not only was this thing a pretty darn accurate replica of the classic series.
Reminds me of my ex. I had an ex that really loved this series. Oh shit, why am I missing her? Ew! Oh, stop it!
But it was also just cool to see how all these systems could work together to make something entirely brand new. But then one day, GPT-3 experienced outages, prompting the creators to switch over to a different AI chat system, one that was less filtered, one that was less sophisticated with its ingested data. All of a sudden, the jokes the AI was making in the show became harmful and abusive. Characters started using slurs and making hateful jokes, and the show got suspended from Twitch. Bad data equals bad results.
Oh man,
but then, how does this all apply
man,
to
I didn't
FNAF?
even know this happened.
Tales of the Pizzaplex book has leaned more and more into AI. In The Mimic, we watch as Edwin, a close parallel to Henry from the games, makes an AI program to help entertain his son while he's away at work. In The Storyteller, we watch as that same AI system gets installed and starts controlling the entirety of the Pizzaplex. In the epilogues, we watch as an AI program takes its ingested data too seriously, ripping the arms and legs off of people, wrongly assuming them to be robots. Bad data.
Imagine this is what AI does in the real world. Robot! Ah! So, we have people walking around with no arms. Well, it would look way worse than I'm saying it.
Again, yielding bad results. And the newest story, The Monty Within, makes all of this crystal clear when a boy named Kane gives a presentation about the human brain. He proposes that the left hemisphere of the brain is essentially like a computer, an AI within every person. That AI is then responsible for all the negative self-talk and flaws that human beings have. Quote from the story, "My point is that AI can only use what it's given. When the AI has bad data, it can turn into something that's harmful to itself and to the systems around it." The actual—
Alright, I got something to say. I don't really like how someone has literally said the left or right, whatever part of the brain that's like AI. Really and truly, AI is made to be like us, technically. You know what I mean? Like, to be able to respond and react as quick as humans do. Right? That's basically what AI is, yeah? But just because it's a machine, it can do it better. Right? So you say my brain is like an AI, I created AI, motherfucker. My brain created AI. How can my creation be like my brain? Like, what does the creation is trying to be like me? Remember that. That's all. I just want to put that out there. Yeah, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Theory that this guy's spouting is a little bit out there in terms of realism, but the fact that he specifically calls it the AI within, it's no coincidence. The new villain of FNAF is rogue AI, unpoliced and then unleashed, with us humans helplessly trying to pick up the pieces too late and getting ripped to shreds in the process. But obviously all that's just happening in the books. Nothing like this actually exists in the games, otherwise we'd be aware of it, right? Right? It has been there and it's been under our noses the entire time. If you take this knowledge of AI from the books and start to take a look back through the games, you can see Scott sowing the the seeds for these ideas as far back as Help Wanted. In fact, I actually called this very plot twist 4 years ago. And again, to call this character William would be missing a huge chunk of this game's story. This isn't William. It's no longer the same guy. He's now an AI replicating the behaviors of William. To truly unpack what I'm talking about here, we have to actually rewind all the way back to FNAF VR and the origins of Glitchtrap. It's hard to remember this now, but when the happy waving bunny virus first filled our screens, there was a lot of confusion about what exactly he was. Was this the spirit of Afton manifesting within the code, or was he just a digital copy of Afton? We're told in the game that...
I mean, they sent us that stuff in the first place with no explanation, told us to scan it. It was just junk, circuit boards and things like that. Looked pretty old. Somehow though, there was usable code on some of it.
He's Afton, scanned into the system off of circuit boards, but how exactly? Afton is and was always still a human. Why would his essence be on a circuit board? Back then, possession was the order of the day. Remnant, spirits infused into animatronic parts, and so for a long time we just collectively settled on the idea that Afton had somehow managed to escape his purgatory of Ultimate Custom Night by attaching a piece of his soul to a circuit board that was buried in the spring-locked
Literally, that's what I understood.
That circuit board then got scanned during the events of FNAF VR and AR, creating Glitchtrap, a virus that would then spread throughout Fazbear's systems, eventually passing...
Hold on, that name is the most gangster name ever. Glitchtrap. Imagine that in an Apex game. I don't play Apex, but imagine that character in an Apex game. I don't know if you guys play Apex or have heard of Apex, but that name just fits into Apex so nicely. Like, it's crazy. Glitchtrap.
Into Vanessa. The series moved on, and we all moved on with it. But I would be lying if I said that this was the cleanest solution out there. The solution implied that Fazbear Entertainment went to the burned down FNAF 6 pizzeria, found the spring-lock suit with Afton's dead body still inside, and then just, took out the circuit board to use. Somehow I'm not convinced that the workers would have been happy to continue their job when they pry open a suit and discover the remains of the company's founder inside. And yet that was just the best that we had, because up to that point, that was largely the rules of the series. It was about the supernatural, not the sci-fi. It was possession and ghosts, not rogue AI and technology on the fritz. Or at least, we didn't think the series was about that yet.
Oh!
In FNAF world...
Yo, he's onto something! He is onto something! I have never thought about AI. I didn't think about AI until, obviously, Glitchtrap and stuff. So, but even that was still very hard for me to believe. And and even now, I'm still... All right, so we're going off the idea that Glitchtrap isn't Afton. All right, so if we're going off that, then who is the AI?
Take a look at the world map for me. It's messy, right?
What
this thing
is the
so
AI?
Odd. It's hacked together with no transition between the lands. It's complicated with all these twisting pathways that have no rhyme or reason to them. And then also, just on a basic level, why is it so zoomed out like this? Say what you will about Scott Cawthon's game programming, but he should know enough to make a better, more usable map than this thing, right? Well, that's because it's not a map. It's a diagram. It's a blueprint. A blueprint of the human brain. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but just take a look at this map. And now, take a look at this map. This map of the human brain. Notice all the parallels here. A long brainstem right here in the middle where Pinwheel Funhouse is, Deep Metal Mine and Black Tomb Yard. Two smaller rounded areas in the back matching the cerebellum and the occipital lobe. Two smaller rounded lobes in the back of the brain. Even the twisting nature of the game's various pathways act exactly like the brain. Our brain is full of wrinkles, the gyri or curves, and the sulci or grooves. It's built that way so we have as much surface area in there as possible, which allows for more neuronal connections to happen, thereby making us smarter. And that's exactly what we're seeing here in this FNAF world map. That's also why it stays zoomed out the entire time, so we can see the silhouette. We can understand what Scott was actually going for. That white blob in front, it's either an eyeball or the frontal lobe. This, I suspect, was Afton's earliest experimentation with AI, with turning a robot brain into something truly intelligent, to try and put things back together like he promised his dying son. Back then, we weren't looking for clues to humanoid robots, but now, going back to the series and looking forward, we see those hints everywhere. Fast forward to Sister Location, there it is again. Afton literally has human heads sitting there on the desk, blinking, hidden in plain sight right in the lobby. He was trying to create people. He was experimenting with creating artificial intelligence. Either he or Henry, maybe even both of them, created an AI program to speed up the programming process, to learn the way that a human learns, to copy and bring new life to their dead children. But by observing Afton, by copying him, the program was basically able to act as a second brain. Inputting bad data got them bad results, and we wound up with Glitchtrap. There's also another related possibility here. In the books, the genius inventor Edwin, parallel to the game timeline's Henry, creates the mimic program to entertain a small child, giving it a rudimentary body so it can play and learn from the small boy. Eventually, his child dies, and Edwin abandons everything in his grief, including this mimic program. Fazbear Entertainment rolls in to collect what was their property, and in doing so, collects the mimic, but not before it kills a number of their employees. In true Fazbear fashion, that doesn't really stop them. Instead, they collect the parts, repurpose them, including the circuit boards, in order to create, quote, new scenarios for VR, AR, and arcade games, which is exactly what we see happening throughout FNAF VR and AR. Old circuit boards of the original games made by a rogue indie developer getting scanned into the system, child murder and all. And from that data, the system spits out Glitchtrap. Bad data, again, yielded bad results. The mimic basically got itself a crash course in Afton. The AI is watching and learning how it should behave based on his actions, leading to it manifesting as a man in a rabbit suit. Either way, whether the mimic program was built by Henry or William, an AI trained itself up to be Afton incarnate. And speaking of training, it's time for all of us to start training so we can change the course of history. Theorizing about the battle between good and evil in fictional worlds is fun and all, but have you ever thought about those what-if scenarios happening in real world?
Is this an ad? Sponsor? Fuck the sponsor. I'm sorry. Whilst the sponsor thing is going on, we are heading into a weird direction. So, with what he's saying, are we still talking about spirits here? Or is it, or are these bears that, obviously, that have been stuffed with kids, are they just AI just trying to act like kids, but we just assume that they're kids, and it's not really the supernatural of like their spirits being taking control of the spirits controlling the bear, if that makes sense? Is it just AI just trying to see what kids are like and then trying to be like kids, but it's more angry, it's more programmed to be angry at adults, for instance? Something like that, if you know what I mean. It's getting deep. It's getting deep, ladies and gentlemen. It's getting deep.
Which means it's now time to talk about the elephant in the room, or I suppose the elephant down in the basement, Crispy Boy Burntrap. Burntrap showing up during one of the endings of the Security Breach was one of the weirdest and most frustrating things to ever happen in this franchise. We all collectively rolled our eyes and uttered his catchphrase, "I always come back," thinking, yeah, but did you really have to? It just raised more questions than it answered, like, how are you still alive? Was Henry wrong about Remnant being destroyed at high temperatures? Did Afton manage to escape the fire? It was nearly impossible to say. We had a few ideas that involved Vanessa repurposing Glamrock Bonnie's endoskeleton, but now I think we actually know the truth. And again, that truth is rooted in this AI concept. Probably the best and scariest part of Security Breach was the utility tunnels, a bunch of narrow passageways full of endoskeletons that only attack when you're looking at them. But throughout this area, there's also a lot of posters on the wall. Weird posters, all meant to teach the Glamrock endoskeletons how to behave, how to correctly hold a child's hand, how to play nicely with other kids, how to not scare a girl in a bed that has a bedspread and lamp of the FNAF 4 house. Hold on, that's not just any bed either, it's a hospital bed. Oh, that feels like it has huge implications for the lore of FNAF 4. Anyway, that is not my focus right now. The point is, the endoskeletons down there in the basement, they're being trained up. They're being taught. They're being educated one by one. Data is being ingested by their systems. My suspicion is that whoever's doing the training down there, they're trying to find the right mix of data, the right combination of inputs to get the desired output. But what would that desired output be? Afton. You see, these robots have clearly been tampered with. If you keep looking, you see one poster where the robot is being taught not to knock over the cake. But then the X has been crossed off and replaced with a purple check mark. Yes,
that's crazy.
Want that bad behavior. When you see a hurt child, don't help them. But as one last reveal for this section of the game, in the big final room, we see an endoskeleton wearing purple bunny ears and another
and then the bunny there. Yeah.
Is Vanny, messing around with the new mimic line of Glamrock endoskeletons. It literally reveals her plan to turn one of them into the new Afton. She's finding the inputs that are required to create an army of evil Afton bots. She's looking for the data that produces her bad results. And that, ultimately, is what Burntrap is. The body of Afton with the mind of a mimic. The epilogues of the new book series take place in the FNAF 6 location under the pizza place as it's being built. A new shipment of animatronics arrives, but one of these is unlike the others, looking burnt and mangled. Since they can't put this burned one up on stage with all the other new animatronics, one of the workers decides to program it to tear the heads and arms off of the junk endoskeletons that are just lying around. This obviously goes horrifically wrong though when the little robo decides to take his programming a bit too seriously. He starts ripping the heads and arms off of anything that looks humanoid, including construction workers and later a group of teens who sneak their way in the facility. We learn, alongside the teens, that this thing is also running a version of the Mimic program, and that it likes to wear costumes. It's also physically able to contort itself into any animatronic costume or shell that it needs to, expanding and contracting to fit any space or shape that it needs, even if that space is a human body. Quote, in a nanosecond, one of the Mimic's spidery legs reached out and peeled open the back of the blue dog costume. The instant the costume was breached, the Mimic wormed its way past the edges of the matted blue fur. Shockingly, the Mimic shoved itself inside the costume with Kelly. Lucia heard a sickening crunch. So hold on a minute. A Mimic in the ruins of the FNAF 6 pizzeria that likes wearing old costumes, even if there's already a human body inside, that right there, that is Burntrap. That's why we see what are essentially new glam rock animatronic parts entwined with the old fleshy parts of Afton. It's not that Vanessa rebuilt the body and just decided that they'd make for good decoration. The Mimic is literally contorting itself to fit in with what remains of Afton inside of his existing suit. So feed an AI program a bunch of data about a serial killer and boom, you get yourself a serial killer. But
this endoskeleton is so creepy, bro. It is so creepy. I can't fathom how scary this motherfucker is. How are you just squeezing yourself into anything and everywhere? Yo, I wonder if this is true. I can't wait for the next video.
Feed an AI too much data, or data that conflicts, things start to get messy in a hurry. Enter Tiger Rock. In the books, AI is represented by two main creatures. One is obviously the Mimic that's roaming around in the basement like we just talked about, but the other is another version of the Mimic program, Tiger Rock, an AI that's in charge of the Pizzaplex. A tiger that, very specifically, has mismatched blue and green eyes. A very literal way of showcasing the two clashing forces that are operating inside of it. But what exactly are those conflicting forces? The book never makes it clear. In our last theory, I spoke a lot about how Edwin and his son David are stand-ins for characters from the game timeline, one of the creators of Fazbear Entertainment, Henry, and his young daughter Charlie. In the book, the Mimic was built to copy David, and so presumably in the game, if the Mimic's there, it would also be designed to potentially copy Charlie, who was sadly killed by William and goes on to possess the puppet. And wouldn't you know it, just like the David AI taking control of the Pizzaplex in the book, that's why we're seeing puppet imagery weirdly spaced throughout the game, in puppet-colored wires, weirdly placed plushies, painted staff bots. It's an AI that's taken over the operation of the Pizzaplex, infusing itself into the very wires of the building. That's why both the books and the game have conversations written in weird, mysterious, shape-based lettering. It shows us that the Mimic program, Edwin's son, the entity controlling the Pizzaplex, the puppet, Charlie, and Henry are all connected. But while I am absolutely convinced that Charlie exists in the wires of the Pizzaplex, one thing that I haven't been able to answer yet is why all the imagery is evil. We're not seeing plushies of the marionette, we're seeing plushies of the nightmare puppet all over the Pizzaplex, the scary, evil version of the character. Why though? This character is not evil. If anything, this character is pure good. Is it because suddenly the puppet's vindictive? It's mad about being killed? Maybe it's angry that it's been summoned again to have to protect another generation of kids. No, maybe. So. In my last theory, I suspected that it had to do with Afton being mixed in with the puppet program. So you have these two competing codes, these two competing forces having to share one space, one body, for lack of a better word. And I think that I was really close on that one, but still not quite right. Think about it. Tiger Rock is very clearly meant to have a green eye and a blue eye. Green and blue. Charlie and Elizabeth, the puppet and baby. The protection of the puppet mixed with the violence and anger of Elizabeth. Throughout the books, Tiger Rock is depicted as having a duality about him. He's good and loving and fun, but then suddenly he turns sinister and threatening. There's this moment in one of his stories where he literally helps a kid like, quote, a puppet on a string. Doesn't get much more explicit than that. And yet later that same story, he just rolls up and rips the kid's arms clean off. Which is how the story ends. It is
No, I'm sorry. Let's carry on.
very bizarre and dark. Do I have a lot of evidence to suggest that Elizabeth might be mixed in there? Yeah, I'd say I have like a medium amount. Outside of Baby's iconic blue eyes, we also have ourselves years of book canon establishing that Elizabeth and Charlie are often revealed to share the same body, most explicitly with the Fourth Closet novel. We also have this weird moment in the main Tiger Rock story where he takes the form of a white clock face. This moment comes out of nowhere and is unlike anything else in the story, but where have we seen that sort of thing before? Sister Location and the white baby-faced clock. Let's just call it a theorist hunch. I suspect that that is why both the puppet and Baby are deactivated.
This is the weirdest picture ever. I stand by that. I saw it the first time I saw it. I said it. I'm saying it again. What's going on? And there's two too mad.
When we see their masks in the Blob, their actual AI code, their spirits, whatever you want to call them, they're off elsewhere. They're in a separate AI entity, the wires of the building. But speaking of the Blob, the AI theory also solves that one too. So Daddy AI is down in the basement, and the AI trained on the two warring daughters is fighting for control up in the Pizzaplex itself. What about the Blob then? Well, the Blob is just everything else. It's the mixed data. It's the AI when you feed it too much information. When you open the entirety of the internet to ChatGPT, a confusing mess of wires and information and a lot of angry people. As Glamrock Freddy says,
"My friends are here."
Take a look at this description for the Mimic from one of the book's epilogues. Quote, creeping out the back of the overalls-clad mushroom was an abomination of twisted and contorted metal. A mass of metal joints with wires, with one of its eyes on one leg and the other on its back. One of the legs extended from where its mouth should have been. Unlike the Mimic's footfalls when it was upright, this configuration of the Mimic's parts made a tisk-tisk sound. A sloppy ticking that was at the same time squelching wet and dryly brittle, end quote. There is only one creature that's still around in the series that matches that description. The Blob. That's right, I'm telling you that I think the Blob, this confusing, weirdly designed mess that we found in the basement of the security breach, is actually one final version of the Mimic. Just listen to the sounds that it makes. Its appearance and the sounds that it make match how it's described in the book almost word for word. A twisted body that's able to grow and shrink, slither into suits, expand and contract, a mass of twisted and contorted metal parts, wet yet dry sounding movement. It is absolutely him. There's even some in-game evidence to suggest that this is more than just speculation. The Fazwatch tells us that a huge amount of power goes down to the basement. We all thought that it was meant to keep Burntrap's body alive. But what if instead it's to keep the Blob alive? In the books, whenever the Mimic appears, the lights tend to flicker and go out as it draws power from anything around it. That also means the ending then, where the Blob scoops up Afton, it's just him ingesting more data. The Afton data. It's all the data coming together, getting mixed up, getting more complicated inside that Freddy spaghetti. It's a Mimic sweep. And, as I discussed in a previous theory, it's also why I suspect that Gregory is not who he says he is in the Ruin trailer. It's the Mimic still. An AI now trained by watching Gregory's behavior throughout Security Breach, hearing Gregory's voice talking to Freddy. Bit by bit, this AI is absorbing everything around it, learning from it, assimilating it, and we'll see how that ultimately plays out in Ruin. Or, you know, maybe I'm completely wrong. So, with that theory out of the way, what are you guys doing now? The game is out today. Literally today as this one's uploaded. I'm sure you're all probably scrambling to get through it as quickly as possible to see whether I got anything right. Literally anything right. I'm actually doing the exact same thing right now over on GT Live. Tom and I are probably playing through the game as we speak, so please keep an eye out on GT Live.
Nice. Okay, so it's been a month since Ruin has been out. I will play it myself soon. Remember, guys, I'm going to start playing the games from basically tomorrow, and I'm going to be trying to upload it from Monday going. I'm on annual leave. I'm at home most of these days for like 2.5 weeks. So you guys should be getting more uploads from me. And if you don't, that means I'm slacking. Yeah, I'm excited to play it. I'm excited to get to Security Breach, and then we play the Ruin DLC. It'll be sick. All right. So now let's go to the next video. Was he right? Let's find out. Was you right, Game Fury? Damn, chill, bro. Oh my god.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show that is definitely the real deal and not a sentient robot designed to copy my voice. Today we begin our journey to solve the most anticipated DLC of the year, Security Breach Ruin. Gotta admit, this DLC has been fantastic. Playing it really felt like Steel Wool learned from their mistakes. Gone is the open world that was big but empty. Gone is the brightly lit neon environments that stopped being scary. And gone are the insane glitches that made the game impossible to fully complete.
Oh, hey. Whoa! We are not
where we were.
This definitely feels like we've skipped something. I think we broke the game.
I think I broke the game for like the 3rd time. Okay, maybe not all the glitches are gone, and just so happened to be on my first playthrough, I managed to skip an entire chapter that was filled with the most lore, but hey, consider that my contribution to the speedrunning community. You can call that one the failed lore hunter skip in my honor. It'll be my crowning achievement in the world of gaming. Just to make sure that we're all starting on the same page, in the game, we play as a new character named Cassie, a young girl that's been called to the Pizzaplex by her friend and my personal favorite, maybe definitely robot kid, Gregory. Gregory tells us through a Roxy talkie that he's trapped under the sinkhole in Roxy Raceway. One staff bot jump scare later and we're handed a quote-unquote security mask, one that's meant to help us bypass certain puzzles while shutting down all the security nodes that are keeping Gregory locked down in the basement. But this, my friends, is not just any mask. This is Vanny's mask, the one that Vanessa wore throughout the entirety of Security Breach, making it pretty darn suspicious. Using this mask allows us to look into an augmented reality system, seeing things that we couldn't see before, making us invisible to certain enemies. We can suddenly walk through walls, deactivate security nodes, intentionally teleport, and as I demonstrated earlier, also accidentally teleport sometimes. Mask in hand, we make our way through the Pizzaplex, shutting down the security and encountering the various Glamrock animatronics from the original game, including the bestest boy Glamrock Freddy, though something's a little different about him this time.
Oh shit!
Put my finger on it. It's probably the fact that he's missing his head. All of this while running from a glitching bunny entity that'll summon animatronics to our location if we wear the Vanny mask for too long. Eventually, we deactivate all the security nodes, including Cassie's favorite Glamrock, Roxy.
Cassie, what are you doing?
In the eye? Crazy.
Sorry.
This allows us to head on down to the basement where, surprise, surprise, it wasn't Gregory at all. Instead, it was an animatronic. See, told you guys Gregory was a robot this entire time. This thing right here is the Mimic, a bot designed to learn from and copy other people and robots. And whoopsie poopsie, we've just released it from its concrete prison. We run to the elevator to try to escape, only for the real Gregory to finally contact us and lead us to safety. The elevator is ultimately sabotaged by either Gregory or the Mimic, unclear who exactly, that's a theory that we're going to talk about later, and we fall into the game's ending with Cassie's fate being questionable at best. Honestly, there is so much happening in this game. True to form, the fanbase is just tying itself into knots arguing over all the little details. Did Gregory actually betray us in the end? What does the word prototype mean on Freddy's foot exactly?
What?
And what ending of Security Breach actually led us to this point in the timeline? Well, good news there, loyal theorists. I believe I have at least the first batch of questions answered, and oh boy, if I'm right, this game is drawn from one of the most controversial parts of the lore, while simultaneously setting us up for some massive reveals later this year. So grab your AR bunny masks, friends. We're about to see the hidden truth buried within the ruin. But before I do that, you know what complements a high-tech bunny mask? Our latest batch of theory wear. That's right, after almost a year's hiatus, we are back with a bunch of brand new designs in our biggest drop yet. Get jacked into the AI network with our short circuit collection, where we've got t-shirts, top line of the description. Just head on over to theoryware.com.
Hurry up, man. Fill us in. We're excited.
As Style Theory always says, keep looking sharp. Now then, back to the digitized walls of the ruin. Let's start with something simple, something that really sets the foundation for the rest of Ruin. Which of the Security Breach endings is canon? Security Breach has had a weird relationship with its endings. Sure, some previous FNAF games have had multiple endings, some have even had upwards of 7, but none has ever been so vague about what the intended ending was. Of Security Breach's 6 potential endings, there were 2 that felt like real contenders for being the canon choice. The so-called true ending, 2-star ending where Gregory goes into the Pizzaplex's basement to fight Burntrap, ending in a collapse of the entire building, and the Princess Quest ending, the only 3-star ending of the game where Freddy's dismantled by staff bots and Gregory defeats the Glitchtrap virus controlling Vanessa. So now that Ruin's out, which actually happened? Well, we could say with near 100% certainty that it was Princess Quest. You see, Steel Wool did something that I would have never expected. They made the comic book style drawings of all the Security Breach endings into the linchpin of the whole debate.
Are we collecting the endings from Security Breach as comics?
Yep, throughout Ruin, one of our main collectibles are comic strips. Comic strips depicting images from the base game's various endings. Comics that were created by none other than...
It's one of Gregory's comics.
Each comic comes with a little descriptor like that. These look like Gregory drew them. Gregory should be an artist when he grows up. Gregory was always so creative. That last line about Gregory being creative, that tells me that these endings are all made up. They're just stories that Gregory imagined for his own little comic series, inspired by the scary, true-to-life events of the franchise. But if they're made up, then how do we...
I'm so confused. What, the comics that he's picking up from within the game, or the actual comics that he's read? I think he's talking about in the game.
Know that the Princess Quest ending is real? Well, once you collect all of Gregory's comics, the answer is pretty obvious. Take a look at this. These two are from the Gregory Escapes ending. These two are from the VIP ending. These are from the Loading Dock ending. This one is from the Disassemble Vanny ending. And then, last but not least, is the Burntrap ending panel. Seems like a pretty extensive list, right? Except there's one ending that's noticeably absent here. Princess Quest. There isn't a single comic strip in all of Ruin depicting that ending, implying that one, unlike all the others, was real. And if you look around at the rest of Ruin with this in mind, you start to realize why. In the Princess Quest,
so I'm guessing there's multiple endings. So there's more than two, obviously, and all of those other endings, Gregory has a comic of those endings, and the only ending that Gregory doesn't have a comic of is the Princess ending. So that's why he's assuming it may be true. I get it.
Ending, you have to beat the Princess Quest 3 arcade machine that's in Vanny's hideout. But when you visit that same hideout in Ruin, you find the machine on its side, with the princess's lantern sitting on top of it. She has conquered the virus, lighting the way to freedom. And if the lantern wasn't obvious enough symbolism for you, when you put on the Vanny mask and enter the AR world, you'll see the sword from Princess Quest 2 and 3 plunged into the machine. The beast has been slain. Actually, the fact that Cassie's given the Vanny mask in the first place also lines up with this ending, because it's the only ending where we actively see the mask getting left behind. It's actually a big focus of this panel right here, showing us that the mask being left behind is significant. It's still waiting around for someone, in this case Cassie, to find it and become the new Vanny. And then, last but not least, there's the fact that in Ruin we come across Freddy, sitting in a pile of rubble missing his head, something that again only happens in the Princess Quest ending. So with our canonical ending established, let's just stop right there to talk a little bit more about Freddy, shall we? In Ruin we come across this headless Freddy, but it's unclear whether it's meant to be our Freddy from Security Breach or not. You see, this Freddy has the word prototype written across his foot, something that is definitely not present in the base game. He also has a green present hiding in his stomach, something that's awfully suspicious once you consider Security Breach started with Gregory taking an orange present out of Freddy's stomach. This can't possibly be the same robot then, right? This is one of the big debates that's captured the attention of the Faz base. If the Princess Quest ending is correct, then it kinda has to be the same Freddy. It'd be very highly coincidental if not. So how then do you explain all these new features? Well, first, I think it's important to call out that design updates between games, it is nothing new for this franchise. Probably the best known example of this is the evolution of Springtrap in FNAF 3 to Scraptrap in FNAF 6. William Afton's basic anatomy, it is nothing alike, despite it being the same dead body in the same rotten suit. Even in this game, Candy Cadet, complete overhaul between his first appearance and now. Or just take a look at any of the other animatronics. Their endos are real different to the ones at the end of Security Breach, and yet each and every one of them has suffered the exact same damage that they did in the previous game. But one detail that can't be replicated is something that I think a lot of the community has started to overlook, something that can't be denied, and it all relates back to the Vanny mask. We're told that this mask is known as the Virtual Augmented Neural Network Integration Unit, or VANI. As the name implies, it allows us to use augmented reality to physically see and access the neural network, that's just a fancy name for AI, controlling the Pizzaplex. Throughout the game, we use this ability to make fences disappear, access security nodes, and teleport from location to location. That much is obvious. What's less obvious, though, are how the various endoskeletons behave while we're wearing the mask. As we pass most normal endoskeletons in the game, we see them wrapped in swirling pink code. This shows that they're connected to the network. They're being powered by the AI system in charge of the Pizzaplex. Now, when Cassie has the Vanny mask off, they'll start chasing us. That's because we're suddenly visible to them. We're just a kid. We're a target. But notice what happens as soon as we put the mask on. They stop chasing us. Instead, they go back to what they were doing before. We've disappeared from them because we're integrated into the AI system. We're no longer a kid. We've become one with the code. It's actually pretty brilliant, subtle storytelling. But now let's get back to the topic at hand, our headless Freddy in Ruin. Unlike every other animatronic, when we put on the mask around Freddy, not only does he stop chasing us, he outright disappears. We can't see him anymore. Likewise, he can no longer see us.
So that means he's not connected.
What makes him so different? What is this trying to tell us? Well, if the Vanny mask jacks us into the Pizzaplex's AI system, his disappearance tells us that he's not a part of that system. He is not swirling in pink code because he's removed from the Pizzaplex's network. How'd that happen? Well, we saw it at the top of Security Breach. Freddy glitches out and has to be rebooted in safe mode. That's why he's friendly to Gregory in a way that none of the other animatronics are. He's no longer under the control of the AI network controlling the Pizzaplex. In a sense, you could say he's thinking for himself. And we see
But then why does he look like he's attacking kids? You know what I mean? Why does he look like he's attacking people? Why does he look very aggro? Or is it because he can't see? So he's just going towards anything. Maybe he's not attacking you, he's just going towards you.
See this continue throughout the entirety of Security Breach. Whenever Gregory sees Vanny running around, Freddy states that he didn't see anything.
You didn't see the dancing rabbit lady right in front of us?
No, I did not. There is no rabbit at the Mega Pizzaplex. Not anymore.
Vanny is very clearly real, but she's wearing her mask, thereby making her invisible to the one robot that isn't a part of the wider AI system, that only changes when Freddy is equipped with Roxy's eyes. Roxy's eyes in that game were a part of the AI system, which is why that upgrade suddenly allows Freddy to see things that were formerly invisible to him. He's seeing everything that's a part of the AI network, and that includes Vanny.
Vanny, I can see you now. I have new eyes.
This one detail is why I feel that ruined Freddy here has to be the same as our best boy from Security Breach. This is a Freddy that has been removed from the system, one that was rebooted in safe mode, taking him offline, something that almost guarantees that he has to be connected to the Freddy from the original game. Weird Freddy curveballs aside though, this game makes it abundantly clear that I was right on the money with my last few theories about how AI is now the major focus of the series, and specifically AI programs that have been corrupted by Glitchtrap, Afton's old evil data, hence why everything is wrapped in this purple or pink code. Well, everything except for Roxy. Instead of being made out of purple code like the rest of the animatronics, she instead has sections of her body made up of green code, specifically around her face, her arm, and her foot, making her look a lot like she did at the beginning of Security Breach. It's strange, right? But it actually ties into our previous theories. This neural network controlling the Pizzaplex isn't just influenced by Afton. According to the books, the AI program was originally built to play with Charlie, a girl that wore a green wristband in order for the security puppet to protect her. That's why we see Tiger Rock, the book's manifestation of this same AI, with two colored eyes. It has evil and good data inside of it, and different animatronics are tapped into different amounts of that same code. That's why Roxy is surrounded by green code that makes her look like she was originally supposed to. Green is the color of protection, of safety. Her influence is now putting green markers over the parts of the system that are good. This duality is actually best exemplified by, believe it or not, the daycare attendant, Sun and Moon. Or
I remember
Eclipse,
playing.
as
I
they're known
remember
and fused
playing
together. Since the beginning of Security Breach, this thing's presence in the game has always felt very random. Like, why is he here? Just to be another scary thing to chase us around? Maybe, but that doesn't tend to be how these games work. And why would they choose such a random design of being both light and darkness, sun and moon? Well, now we know. In one of Ruin's many lore-heavy Easter eggs, if you go up to him with the mask on while there's only one generator left to activate, you'll hear a new line that states,
No! It's not safe yet! Turn on the other generator!
Clearly, Eclipse is conflicted. One half wants to protect you, but it's getting shut away by the darker, more sinister half. He is good and evil combined. He represents both codes competing within the same body. Other animatronics are more of a sliding spectrum. Some are more corrupt than others, but Eclipse represents the balance that naturally exists within this neural network system, which leads us then to the ending of the game. Whether Gregory is actually the one trying to kill Cassie in the final moments is a theory for another day. Instead, I'd rather focus on this.
Why can we not find out if Gregory's good or evil? Why are we still wondering this? I thought this would be answered in this one.
The game we're chased by an endoskeleton known as the Mimic, a robot that's able to learn from and copy other creatures. But even before we get to the elevator, Gregory tells us his friend, presumably Vanessa, has these plans for the underground tunnels.
My friend has access to the building map. Just follow the instructions.
But what are the tunnels? Why are they here? Who put them here? These tunnels aren't just random. Someone has been down here before. They've installed lighting and an elevator and everything. We also know it wasn't Gregory and Vanessa because they're on the opposite side of the room that the Mimic was locked in, the Pizzaplex side, complete with the mixes system. We also know that these tunnels weren't just part of the FNAF 6 location because the game makes it a point to show that we're a number of floors far below that building. It tells us that this location has to be older than the FNAF 6 pizzeria. So again, I ask, what are these tunnels for and why are they here? Well, the clues to finding that answer are hidden in the Mimic's
Answer it for us.
Normally, you wouldn't be able to see any of this stuff. You break down the wall, you enter a cutscene, and the Mimic starts to chase you. However, at this point, Steel Wool understands that the internet gonna do what the internet gonna do. We're gonna rip into the files, we're gonna free cam our way all across these maps, and we're gonna crank up the brightness hunting for clues. And sure enough, there is a lot that's hidden just out of sight. Inside the Mimic's room are two costumes, a grandma bird and an elephant clown. There also seems like there's supposed to be a third costume, a lion wearing a varsity jacket, but that one I was only only able to find in the game files. That said, in one of the game's secret endings, the Mimic wears a costume that's kind of a mix of all three of these things, so that's the evidence that we need there. And overall, it's a pretty interesting find. We know from the books that the Mimic is a fan of wearing costumes. In the Mimic story, as well as the Pizzaplex epilogues, we know that the Mimic mainly cycles between two costumes, a mushroom and a jester. In the story, Edwin, our parallel for the game's Henry, was responsible for turning those costumes into animatronics for Fazbear. And that right there, that's an important detail. You see, the books make it clear that those costumes came from a time before Edwin made Chica into the first animatronic. In other words, these off-branded characters like a jester and a mushroom predate practically everything else that we see in the games. They come from a time before the core lineup of characters was officially decided. When Edwin disappears after the death of his son, Fazbear Entertainment goes to his abandoned home and reclaims all of their property. The Mimic, the costumes, everything. Think this is only specific to the books?
All right.
It's not. I suspect that we've been hearing about these costumes ever since Night 4 of FNAF 3.
Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected.
But that's not all. On your way down to the FNAF 6 location, we find ourselves in a massive cave.
I love how you start to realize how important old information from the old games are as the game goes along. You start to go back to different parts of the games, realizing, "Raw, wait, hold up. This person said this. Could it be connected to this? Huh? Or maybe could that be connected to that? But if that's connected to that, how does it all come together as a whole? You know, like it's insane."
Cave system full of bioluminescent mushrooms and waterfalls. This immediately felt weird to me. I mean, it is the first time that we've ever been in a place like this, a place that is outside of a building location in this franchise. So why now? Why this particular setting? Why such a beautiful cave with such specific details? It's odd because we've never seen anything like this in the entire series. Well, almost never. In the second novel, The Twisted Ones, as a friendly reminder, that's the one where the main character gets vored by an animatronic in the end. Good memories had by all. When Charlie awakens from being trapped inside one of the twisted animatronics, she finds herself inside of an old Freddy Fazbear pizzeria. As she explores, she too discovers a cave system with, wait for it, glowing mushrooms and a waterfall. What does it mean? Well, the more I looked into it, the more I realized the strong parallels between Ruin and the original novel trilogy. In both cases, we follow a young girl who's looking for a boy the same age as her that goes missing. She finds an old pizzeria buried below a mall, and when she goes down there to where she believes the boy's calling from, it's revealed to be a trap. Am I saying Cassie is Charlie? No, I might one day, but for now I'm still mulling that one over. But I do think that there are clear connections between this game and those books that are directly being called to our attention. And what's the primary location for the final book in the series? The location where this story finally comes to its ultimate conclusion? Circus, babies, pizza world. Look again at the costumes that we see in the Mimic's room. An elephant, clown, and a lion. Both animals that are commonly associated with circuses. The grandma bird actually looks a lot like a crow to me with its wide yellow beak and its dark blue coloring, which again reminds me of the Disney film Dumbo, another circus-based film that stars crows and an elephant attraction. The elephant is even wearing
Hey, shout out to my nigga Dumbo.
a clown outfit, for crying out loud. It is practically screaming at us that these costumes were designed to be mascots for circus babies. It's why when they were brought into Fazbear's as backup costumes, like Phone Guy said, their relevance was questioned, because Fazbear never had a circus theme or revealed any of these sorts of characters. They were Williams from a long time before. But that's not all. Throughout Ruin, there are secret plush baby rooms where the dolls troll you, and a whole suite of plush baby AR collectibles that specifically call out how weird it is that these things are here. This is Fazbear, not circus babies. There is no reason to call out all of these parallels unless it is specifically to call our attention to Circus Baby. These locations are connected somehow. But the final nail in the coffin for me comes thanks to one of the secret endings in the game. After the Mimic chases you in costume, you end up in a locked room where you hit a big ol' red button and a claw-like machine comes down from the ceiling, grabs the Mimic, and defeats it, at least for now. And what's that ending called in the game files? The scooper ending. This thing right here, it is a scoop. And where's the only other place that we've ever seen a scoop used? Circus Babies. An underground bunker that you can only access via an elevator. Wait, that describes exactly where we are. Now, remind me again what game is coming out later this year. One that has a trailer starting in the sister location elevator. One where we see a very familiar security panel from Ruin down in the bottom right corner. Help Wanted 2, the second VR game. The Mimic has been around much, much longer than any of us suspected, and we're gonna find out more about him in the next VR installment coming this winter. This has all sorts of implications. For one, the parallels between the Mimic and Ennard weird are undeniable. An animatronic that's an amalgamation of a bunch of other animatronics. What makes this one even more interesting is that the books just confirmed all games up through FNAF 6 as being games in-universe of the Pizzaplex. So was Ennard just a fictional version of the Mimic the whole time? Again, that's a theory for another day. But more importantly, this actually has some massive timeline implications as well. Part of the reason it always felt tough for me to place Circus Babies into a timeline is because it closes after the death of Elizabeth. That always felt like a good starting point for Afton to then begin seeking eternal life and to put people back together. But what didn't make sense is why Baby would have a claw mechanism in her chest to capture kids. Afton wouldn't need to capture kids until after he had lost his child. But if Circus Babies was actually much earlier in the timeline, like these old costumes seem to suggest, things start to fall into place. Henry was the initial robotics genius. Afton just had the ideas and then gave them to Henry to turn into animatronics, like what we see with Edwin in the Mimic stories. I always brush this little detail off as confusing, but before the release of Sister Location, we got this ending from FNAF World, where Henry sits at a desk talking about the evil that he created before he unalives himself, just like what we see him do in the novel trilogy.
Oh, so Henry offs himself. Oh, shit! I didn't know that.
At that point, we see a pair of glowing eyes and Baby's voice calls out,
"Everyone, please stay in your seats."
This all implied that Henry was the creator of Baby, not William, despite Afton's name being the one on the copyright. But now I think we have an answer that solves all of this. William went back to collect his costumes after Henry's disappearance, just like what we see happen in the books. When he does this, he also finds the Mimic program, deciding to use its programming and technology for his own creations. The Funtime animatronics, who can do what? They have the ability to mimic voices. We see Baby doing the exact same thing in Sister Location when she mimics the voice of Elizabeth to try and lure Michael to his death. I suspected in my last theory that Baby was still at play here. That's why Tiger Rock's eyes are blue and green, Elizabeth and Charlie. And given everything that we just talked about today, I have no doubt that this is still very much the case. How it's gonna play out though, we'll have to see in FNAF VR 2 later this year. Obviously, there's gonna be more to cover here in the coming weeks, specifically about Gregory, Cassie, and Cassie's dad, but more on that one next time, because in the meantime, remember that our brand new line of merch just dropped today.
Wow, wow, wow. I can't lie to you. This one didn't answer too much questions that I had, but it answered a few, you know? And I finally now know that Henry offed himself, which is crazy to me. I've been wondering how he died. And apparently Crazy Baby, or was it Baby Crazy? Fam, the girl with the green eyes. His timeline has been pushed back to Henry being the one that obviously created her. We still don't know if Gregory's evil or not. Still don't know that. I'm still questioning if the Fred bot, the good one that we play as in Security Breach, if he is the headless one now. I'm still questioning that, but from what he's saying, since we can't see him in the network, it could be true. And there's still a lot of questions around who really is the AI. You know, is it actually the Mimic that was created by Henry that has gone on to become evil, or is there something larger at play here? You know. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there's so much questions in my head that's going on, isn't it? I feel like if I was to think about all of them, we'd be here all day. But without further ado, guys, I'm glad that you guys were able to go through this with me, follow this journey with me. This is probably going to be the last low reaction until the next one, because there's no more. We're going to start our journey playing the games ourselves, go through all the 5 Nights of Freddy's, and maybe if you guys are really enjoying the series, we'll get a VR headset and actually play the VR versions as well. So guys, show me as much support as you can. You know, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend if you guys are into 5 Nights of Freddy. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. My mind is blown right now. I'm actually like in shock, trying to like piece things together because I am a bit confused. It's like when you think you understand everything, you don't, you know? So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gone. Have a good day. Have a good night. If you're in a different time zone, yo, take care and goodbye.